Are the St. Louis Blues going to trade Captain Brayden Schenn?
Hey, this is Brayden Schenn. Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I'm your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, here on the #1 sports podcast network. I am going to talk to you today about the rumors about Brayden Schenn potentially being traded and why I actually think that there is some realness to some of these rumors, right? We defeated the Flames 3-2. Also, a big shout out to Biddington, and we'll get into that. And looking ahead, because it is going to be 2 times of the ultimate crossover episodes between me when the Blues take on the Flyers. So we have a lot to get into on today's episode. Before I begin, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Oh boy. It has been a lot with these Brayden Schenn rumors. At first, I thought that this was just clickbait, right? You see Schenn have a viral moment where he misses in the shootout a few weeks ago. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, Brayden Schenn, he shouldn't be captain, blah, 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 blah. And I'm in Wisconsin, right? And I'm enjoying my time out in the Midwest, back on Central Time again. And then I see a video of said reporter. I might know this reporter's family member who I just whatever. And they said that Brayden Schenn could be the first out the door, not Jordan Kyrou. And then the rumors continued on and on and on and on because then Elliot Friedman said about Brayden Schenn, Armstrong has said before, that's my captain. And you better give me a reason to trade him when we're talking to other teams. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, wow. So maybe there is some realness to that because I am sure that when you look at the other teams in the NHL, excluding the Blues, obviously, they could benefit having a Brayden Schenn, right? You could put him on the third line and he would be reliable for you. I think it would be a mistake, and I'm biased. Again, Schenner does the intro to my podcast. I've watched him his whole entire career, and I've always been a fan of Captain Brayden Schenn. I think trading him wouldn't make much sense. I think it would be more realistic to trade a certain defenseman. You know who I'm talking about. But this is becoming something where a lot of reporters are now kind of speculating if Brayden Schenn would fit on their team, what they would give up. And I know that the rumor windmill happens every single season. I'm not naive. However, I do want to add that it's always like a Blues player that gets people talking. Either it's Jordan Biddington, Jordan Kyrou, and now we're back to Brayden Schenn. It was Torrey Krug before. Like, it just continues on and on and on. And it is really interesting that this is something that could potentially happen. Um, there is some speculation that maybe the Senators and the Maple Leafs might have had some interest, as long as the Canadians, the Canucks, and the Mammoth. So it is interesting to me that there are certain teams that have put out there publicly, maybe not publicly, but you know how things get leaked and stuff like that they might have had interest. You know what I mean? I think that when it comes to all of that, and I just want to add this in, when I say publicly, I am credentialed with a couple NHL teams, right? There's things that you hear sometimes at practices or just being around that are not meant for the outside, right? It stays internal. And I'm not pointing it at anybody. I'm just saying that anything that you say in a public space, even if you try to keep it internal, it always ends up external somehow, which is why you shouldn't say things that you don't want exposed. Um, but again, like when I'm saying publicly, I'm not. My perspective is a little bit different, I think. But in terms of publicly, then no. But again, when I explain what I did, I hope that makes more sense. But again, Schenner is 34 years old and he has 2 years left of his current deal, 6.5 milli. And I have to tell you, like, I think Schenner, honestly, and I hate to say it, might end up going to Winnipeg if he does get traded. And again, he has to like move, he has no trade clause, all that stuff. Um, I feel like Winnipeg would be a really good option for him, as much as that bugs me. But if I had to make a prediction, that's what I think. Granted, I could be wrong, but I still think that it's okay to give a little bit of an opinion. I think that he would go to Winnipeg. I don't know if he would go to a team on the East. Not too sure about that one. I think he would. I mean, he's from Canada, um, Saskatoon or whatever. How? Sorry, Brayden. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping that he stays though. Again, I'm biased. I like him. I do think he is a good captain. I think that he has a lot of good leadership skills inside the locker room. And I think it's unfair and unjust to put any blame on how the Blues have done this season on him. I think that he was put in a position where he's had to lead a team during a really difficult time to start off the season. I mean, man, it was so brutal. And yeah, I know he messed up during the shootout, but like, again, you're putting all of this on him. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't make sense that you would kick him to the curb when he is your captain, when he obviously wants to retire here, right? Like, this is the last team that I bet he wants to play for. So it does get me a little bit amped up because at the end of the day, what is really the value that you're going to get? And again, rumors are rumors, right? I haven't heard anything from anyone Blues related that this is something that they might do. But again, I don't have all the contacts that Elliot Friedman has or other said reporter who I think can be a little bit of a clown. I don't. I just get super, super frustrated, my friends. And I hope you understand why. I am the biggest Brayden Schenn fan. And I would hate more than anything to see him go. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions, if you do think he's going to actually be traded. I'm hoping it's after November 20th, as that's when the Blues come to my city and I get to see them. However, I do think there is at the same time some sincerity to it. Now, the question is, how much? I don't know. But there might be some. So, something just to keep in the back of your mind, just because at the end of the day, you never really know. All right. Now that I have finished my Brayden Schenn crash out, I want to talk to you about my friends. And these are new friends, but good friends at Drip Drop. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, energy, mood, even my skin. And that's why I've been using Drip Drop. It's a doctor developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. DripDrop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. I love using Drip Drop as my morning drink. You want to start off the mornings hydrated. That is the number one thing for me. I wake up early, I'm groggy, and I drink my Drip Drop because for me, hydration has become a non negotiable for me. And Drip Drop just helps me feel so much sharper, calmer, and honestly just better overall. So, right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard and keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. The Blues had a win over the Calgary Flames, a home win in their new sweaters for the first time in the new sweaters. That was very important to add on, as the Blues have not done well in their new sweaters. But luckily, the Blues were able to win. And I need to talk about the guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Jordan Binnington with a franchise record. Now, say what you want about Binnington. I don't like him. Blah blah blah. blah. That's how some of you sound sometimes. Um, but this is the most games played in franchise history goaltender Jordan Binnington. Okay? Jordan bleeping Binnington has done it. And I am so incredibly happy for him. He is one of those players that brings so much personality and just so many great memories, right? Not even just but like just memories for us, right? And he skated in his 348th game for the St. Louis Blues. And man, Binnington also turned away 38 of the 40 shots he faced. So last night was a great night for Binner, the winner. And I am sure that Jordan Binnington knew that, he was playing in this historic game. He probably was like, you know what? I have to turn on the Binnington focus. And he played such a phenomenal game for the Blues last night. But even more so than that, right? I mean, this is a player that you're going to look back on maybe 20 years from now, and you're just going to say, wow, I got to see prime Jordan Binnington. And I think it is really cool. Jordan Binnington also talked last night, and he said, as a goalie, sometimes you like that. Yeah, he doesn't really speak proper, but whatever. As a goalie, sometimes like that, just to feel the puck stay in the game, giving up too late in the second was not what we were looking for. We came in here and we regrouped and we found a way to get it done. We had good chances. Their goalie played well too. I think it's good to see our game coming along. So again, there's classic Jordan Binnington just talking about, you know, team. Dustin Wolf was on net last night for the Flames with 28 saves, and Wolf is such a great goalie. Don't forget. So again, one of those players that I personally like to watch a lot. But nonetheless, a huge night for Jordan Binnington. Jordan Binnington, though, it didn't just stop there, okay? The Missouri Athletic Club, Max Sports, awarded Jordan Binnington as their 2025 winner with Personality of the Year. You know, I have to say, Binnington is just such a character. And his wife, Christine, She actually spoke during the broadcast last night and did the classic line, "Do I look nervous to you?" She actually played Imogen on Degrassi. I don't know if anybody ever watched Degrassi, but I was like, "Whoa, Imogen!" And I knew that they were married, but it's so cool, like the lore of the Biddingtons, I guess you can say. But franchise record for Biddington. But we also need to talk about the game too last night because as much as I want to say it was just about Biddington, um, I feel like there is still some more that went down in the game last night, which is why I just want to kind of talk really fast because we saw Dylan Holloway get a power play goal, giving the Blues a 1-0 lead. Matthew Kessel got his first goal of the season, giving the Blues a 2-0 lead. And then the Aussie, Nathan Waka, got the Blues' third and final goal of the game. And then, yes, there was the 2 goals by the Flames that Bennington talked about back to back, like within 20 seconds. So last night, obviously a good game for the Blues. I mean, Bennington had to face a lot of shots. And again, that's where the defense and that whole problem for me picks up because, again, why are you letting your goalie save you once again? This is a tendency that I feel like we see a lot with the Blues to where you get a couple goals and then the defense just doesn't help you out, man. And for Binnington, I knew he was lights out last night. Like, he was not about to let this game be tied up. And some of the saves that he made were like prime Binnington saves. I mean, he's still maybe prime Binnington, but you know what I mean. And I just get so frustrated with the defense because, again, the offense did their job. Granted, the goals came in the first and second frame. Um, But still, they were able to get you 3 goals, and then as the defense, you can't play sloppy. And I feel like we also took kind of a hit with our face-offs this year, where we don't necessarily have the best face-offs, and I don't know. But overall, though, I have to say I was happy that they won. I think that it's really easy to, look and just be like, well, they won. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it does matter winning and losing, especially now. I mean, I think the last time we talked was Friday because I was in Wisconsin. And it's, listen, it's so nice being out in the Midwest. And I know a lot of people laugh and they're like, oh my gosh, listen, I like it out there. So I was happy to be back. But they did lose, by the way, to the Kraken in OT. However, they still were able to pick up that point. So in the last 2 games, they were able to get 3 out of 4 points, which is really good for the Blues. And the Kraken, okay. Did I want to be angry today? No. No, no, no. Oh boy, here we go. Here we go. Okay. I'm ready. It was 3-3. But you know how much time was left on the clock? Do you want to know how much time was left on the clock when the Kraken tied it up? There's 2 seconds left on the clock. 2 seconds. 2. 1, 2. It wasn't like 1.7 seconds. So I guess it wasn't as traumatizing, but I mean, I still felt the same way I did when the Jets tied it up because what do you mean there's 2 seconds? 2 seconds left and you're able to tie it up. I have to tell you, like, I am so happy I was away and I didn't have to do the podcast because I was fuming. Fuming. I don't understand at all. And again, I am not trying to be a negative person. It seems like this on this podcast that I am. But, like, I don't get the Blues with these last second goals. And, okay. Some people say like 0.5 seconds. I still count it as like 4 seconds. It was still the buzzer, but you get the point. You get the point. I am so frustrated. And then, by the way, there was goalie interference, in my opinion, and the Blues didn't challenge, but the league was reviewing, and it just all of it, every single time. And I thought it was goalie interference during that tying goal. That was actually because I'm looking back at the notes. I type myself little emails when I'm away, and I was like, WT blank. There was goalie interference, and I guess it wasn't. So it's going to be a long season. But I need to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same game parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to fanduel.com to sign up and play your game of FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So I have some good news. Since we last spoke, the Blues were the second worst team in the NHL. And I'm happy to announce to you today that we're the fourth worst team in the NHL. However, my friends, I even have some better news. What is some better news? Well, when we look at our division teams, right? We, you know, we have some competition going, We're not the last team in the Central that belongs to those Nashville Predators. We are the seventh ranked team in the Central with 15 points. We're still under 500. We're at 441. We're kind of climbing up a little bit. But listen, we can still come back and maybe be a top 4 team. Like, all I'm saying is it's so close between the Wild, the Mammoth, the Blackhawks, and you know what? Even the Jets. It's all super close. Now, what I will say is the Avalanche, 11 wins, 1 loss, and then 5 OTLs. They have 27 points, 4-game win streak. Okay. Slay, we're probably not going to catch up to them. But other than that, I think we knew that though. When I actually said that the Avalanche were going to win the division, that or the Stars. And if I said the Stars, they're in second. So my predictions were not far off. But every one of the teams in the Central is just super close right now. And that to me is such a good sign for the Blues. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to be a tough division. You're going to probably be playing until game 82. I'm excited though because I don't even need to do a crossover for the next team that we're facing. It's the Philadelphia Flyers, who I actually am a credentialed media member with, as well as the Blues. I know my world's colliding. So you get the benefit of having inside information. They play the Oilers tonight, so and we know how I feel about Edmonton. Um, But it is such a cool experience for me to combine the knowledge I have for both of these teams. And then on the 20th, the Blues come to my city. So that's where I'm able to talk to the players and get you exclusive content. So this is definitely a time to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I am so excited for what's about to come. And like always, let's go Blues.